Hey guys, this is Pokemon. Whatever. This is an entirely unscripted response video to the recent going-ons between Digital Homicide and Jim Sterling. Now, I could just go on and on about Digital Homicide being one of the worst indie devs or blah blah blah, whatever. But to be honest, I think everyone on YouTube has already done that to death. So instead, I'm going to focus on the differences between taking criticism good and bad. Now, I'll use another indie dev as an example of being good, and Digital Homicide is a bad example. Now, Digital Homicide started off with the Slaughtering Grounds, and well, whether or not I think it's a bad game isn't here neither here or there. But Jim Sterling uploaded a video of it, and well, after telling people not to buy the game in his opinion, Digital Homicide responded with meltdown, several videos insulting Jim Sterling, and interviews doxing him, whatever. You know how the story goes. So now let's take an example of an indie dev that responds to criticism in a positive way. Scott Cawthon. Now, before you think he's not gonna ramble on how Five Nights at Freddy's is a great game, is it? No. In fact, at this point, I've never played any of the Five Nights at Freddy's games because they're not available on Mac users. But anyway, this is purely from the standpoint of a person who's never played their games, and either of the Digital Homicide or Scott Cawthon's games, but I just want to mention how they both react to criticism. Now, Scott Cawthon, back when he made the Steam Greenlight trailer for Chipper and Sons Lumber Company, I hear everyone telling him how creepy the animals looked, how they looked like those animatronics you see at Chuck E. Cheese. Well, from what I heard, Scott Cawthon was about to call it quits entirely, like to the point of just stopping making games altogether. But he didn't. He didn't. You know why? Because he took that criticism, turned it on its head, and decided to make a horror game out of it. Five Nights at Freddy's. Well, I think that's a good way to respond to criticism because you take the criticism of what other people say, your game. Basically, he took what didn't work and turned it into something that did. Now, Digital Homicide. Instead of just listening to for criticism from their games by their fans, they instead just delete all negative comments because, in their eyes, if you don't see it, it never happened. Now, with Scott Cawthon, if and when he got criticism for saying his games aren't that good, he didn't delete them. He probably left them as is, because he's not a jerk. Now, I'm sorry. Digital Homicide. You need to take a few cues from Scott Cawthon. Like Scott Cawthon, if someone made a criticism about his game, he didn't take down their video out of spite. He left it up. Maybe make a few adjustments for the next game. Now, another example. When Scott Cawthon made FNAF World, which I hear did get very negative reviews, he didn't blame the entire community on it. He just took the game off of Steam and decided to put it on another website. Instead of people having to pay it, he let them play it for free, which is a pretty good bargain given the reviews. Digital Homicide, they don't put effort into their games, and yet they continue to try and put money on them, hoping people will buy them out of sheer curiosity. They even have a bundle on this itch.io website called Thank God for Digital Homicide bundle. Really? Now you're going to start ripping off Jim Sterling? When you say Jim Sterling ripped off your footage, which is clearly fair use? Anyway, point is, no, one other point is that Scott Cawthon took time to make his games. I mean, yes, he made 4 or 5 Nights at Freddy's games in the span of less than a year. But Digital Homicide, last I checked, they currently have 20 games trying to get through Steam Greenlight. Let's think for a minute. 20. I'm sorry, DigiHom, but no. No, it's not how it works. It's not how it works. You have to take time and effort to making a game. A game doesn't just take like a week or a month or however much time you want to take to make it. It takes longer than that. Look, Scott Cawthon took at least a few months to make his games. Digital Homicide probably slapped it up in a few weeks. Now with this lawsuit DigiHom's going about Jim Sterling, I think it's beyond immature. But Scott Cawthon, after he made the 4 or 5 Nights at Freddy's games, he actually made a post to actually thanking the consumers for helping him get this game around, buying it, helping him, that kind of stuff. I doubt DigiHom would ever say something like that to their fans. By the way, their tagline, last I checked, is "Games Made with Love." So, Digital Homicide, if you're watching this, which I doubt, take a few cues from Scott Cawthon in terms of taking criticism. Take it like a man. Either you take the time and effort to make your games better, or get off Steam entirely. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the whole fiasco. What do you think of this whole situation? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Or what are your 2 cents on it? Leave a comment below, and like this video if you want, share it with your friends, or don't. I don't control your life. I'd like to sign off by saying, Jim Sterling, if you're watching this, I wish you the best of luck in the case, man.